If you were building a skyscraper, you wouldn't just jump straight to the penthouse, right? You'd pour a rock-solid foundation first. Well, human development is exactly the same way. The first 5 years of a child's life are quite literally the ultimate construction site for their entire future. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the foundations of childcare and the early years foundation stage, or as you'll hear us call it, EYFS. We're going to look at exactly how educators use this framework to nurture young minds and set them up for a literal lifetime of learning. Let's get into it. Here's a quick roadmap for our explainer today. First, we'll look at the crucial first years. 2, the actual foundations of childcare. 3, the EYFS blueprint. 4, the 7 areas of learning. And 5, the educator's role in all of this.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the crucial first years, building the base.
5. It's a small number, but it is the absolute most critical benchmark in human development. I mean, the social, emotional, and cognitive growth happening before a kid even blows out 5 candles, that sets the permanent stage for the rest of their life. This isn't just a waiting room where kids hang out until they grow up. It's the main event. Think about a toddler figuring out how to share, or realizing that a round peg just doesn't fit in a square hole. The way they learn to process feelings and solve basic problems right now forms the literal hardwiring they'll rely on forever. And that, my friends, is exactly why high-quality early education is such a big deal.
Which naturally brings us to section 2, foundations of childcare, more than just watching kids. Truly strong childcare is built on 4 very active pillars. First up, physical well-being and safety, creating a space where kids feel totally physically protected. Second, emotional security and positive relationships. They need to feel loved, supported, and understood. Third is social skills and communication, which is all about teaching them to interact and express those big, complex feelings appropriately. And fourth, early learning through play-based activities. Now, this one is absolutely crucial. We're not strapping toddlers to desks here. It's about structured play. It's the difference between just tossing a kid some blocks and actively guiding them to build a bridge so they start understanding gravity. Get these 4 right, and you're raising confident, curious kids. Let's roll right into section 3, the EYFS blueprint, structuring the growth. So what exactly is EYFS? It stands for the Early Years Foundation Stage. Basically, it's a structured but still super flexible framework designed to guide a child's growth straight from birth up to age 5. The real beauty of EYFS is that it lays down the blueprint for how kids should learn, no matter where they are. Think of it as a universal quality guarantee. It levels the playing field so that every single child gets the exact same high-quality start, totally regardless of their background, their neighborhood, or where they come from. To make that happen, the EYFS blueprint relies on 4 main ingredients. First, child-centered learning. No 2 toddlers are exactly the same, so the child's unique needs really have to drive the bus. Second, learning through play and exploration. This is just how young brains naturally soak up the world. Third, observation and assessment. Educators aren't just sitting back watching. They're actively observing how these kids learn so they can pivot and adjust on the fly. And finally, partnership with parents and caregivers. Education doesn't just clock out at the end of the day. It takes a rock-solid homeschool connection to keep things moving. Now, whenever we start unpacking this framework, the exact same question almost always pops up. People want to know, is EYFS actually applicable outside the UK where it started? It's a totally fair question, and addressing it really clears up a major misconception about how far this framework can reach. The short answer is a massive, resounding yes. Sure, the UK came up with it, but the core ideas of EYFS are universally human. Today, these exact principles are used all over the world as the absolute gold standard. Because let's be real, a child's psychological needs don't magically change when they cross a border. A framework that works in London is going to work just as brilliantly in Tokyo, Toronto, or literally anywhere else. Good early education, that's a universal language. All right, moving on to section 4, 7 areas of learning, the interconnected rooms. This right here is where the classroom magic happens. The EYFS is built around 7 interconnected learning areas, and they're split into 2 buckets, prime and specific. The 3 prime areas are communication and language, physical development, and personal, social, and emotional development. Then you have the 4 specific areas: literacy, mathematics, understanding the world, and expressive arts and design. Essentially, the prime areas are your core survival and human interaction skills, while the specific areas are where you put those basic skills to work creatively or academically. And these 2 sides play off each other so perfectly. The primary areas are the absolute developmental base. I mean, think about it. A kid can't really learn to read if they haven't first learned to communicate their basic needs, right? The specific areas then take that foundation and apply it to things that look more like traditional school subjects, but they definitely don't exist in a vacuum. Take a group art project, for example. Yes, that's expressive arts and design, but it takes serious communication and social skills to politely share the green paint. Together, these areas build some seriously essential real-world life skills.
Let's transition to Section 5, the educator's role, the builders. The teachers, the nursery staff, the daycare providers, they are the ones bringing this blueprint to life. And they have to juggle a lot of incredibly specific actions every single day. They're out there creating totally safe, highly stimulating environments. They're practically cheerleading curiosity through these messy, hands-on activities. They are fiercely supporting emotional well-being so these kids build real self-confidence. And crucially, they are constantly observing and adjusting the learning process on the spot. It is a wildly active, engaged, and honestly, wonderfully exhausting profession.
And because the demands on these educators are always evolving, continuous professional training isn't just a nice-to-have, it's absolutely vital. Digging deeper into childcare and EYFS concepts does a few massive things for a teacher. It supercharges their day-to-day classroom management, it deepens their grasp of complex child psychology, and most importantly, it drastically improves how well the kids actually learn. Regular training keeps teachers sharp, totally up to date, and hitting those global standards.
So how do incredibly busy educators actually find the time for this vital training? Well, our source material highlights modern solutions like Booty. Booty is an online platform that gives teachers all over the world access to high-quality, flexible, and surprisingly affordable courses for continuous professional development. Tools like this are a total game changer. They let teachers, daycare providers, or even really invested parents master these EYFS concepts entirely on their own schedule, completely wiping out the old, frustrating roadblocks to professional upskilling. There's a brilliant quote from the source material that sums this all up beautifully. Shape young minds, build a powerful teaching career. It really hits the nail on the head regarding why this field is so special. When educators passionately apply the EYFS framework, they aren't just clocking in and out, they are literally shaping the future of our society while simultaneously building an incredibly fulfilling, lifelong career for themselves.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought for today. Are you ready to nurture the future, one young mind at a time? Whether you're a teacher looking to level up, someone just starting out in education, or a parent wanting to support your kids' critical early years, the blueprint is right here waiting for you. Embracing these concepts and committing to continuous learning on platforms like Booty Youth is exactly how we give the next generation the ultimate foundation. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep on learning.